Hello my dear friends, I hope you're all having an amazing day. Today is a very exciting video because we have all the latest Star Wars updates, and we begin with the Bad Batch Season 3, what a treat! Across the final season, fans have been noticing a couple of pretty hilarious animation mistakes. The most notorious one was no doubt the floating trooper's helmet that was spotted in the squad led by Commander Wolf. Well, did you know in one of the more recent episodes a couple of weeks ago, in episode 11 Identity Crisis, there is another one near the start of the episode that is rather baffling. Before the Having Marauder is blown up by Clone CX-2, and moments before he arrives on Parbu while the Batch is loading the ship. In Crosshair's cart there should be Hunter's helmet and his own, but in this frame, instead of it being Crosshair's regular helmet, the animators accidentally put in his Imperial one. This has got to be a mistake, because how do they have this? Crosshair lost his Imperial helmet on Barton 4 in Season 2, but since the Batch returned there in the 3rd season, maybe Crosshair found it at the Imperial base, since after he was arrested and sent to Tantis, maybe troopers were sent after to collect it. But as I say my dear friends, this is probably just a mistake. And another mystifying detail I want to talk about is still to come. This is by no means an animation mistake, but just something that I'm worried about. In the most recent TV spot, one shot demonstrates Hunter with his armor all in black. Does he fall into something like soot or dirt? Did he paint it? Or is it representative of darker imagery that something might happen to him? Would love to know your thoughts on this. In other Star Wars news, Star Wars Insider have removed the 4th season of The Mandalorian from their list of upcoming projects, and replaced it with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie confirmed for 2026. Amidst confusion if Season 4 is even going to happen at all, it looks like it's still anyone's guess. But they removed the 4th season and replaced it with a confirmed Jon Favreau movie. And so now my dear friends, did you know this scene in Obi-Wan was improvised? In a new interview with Vanity Fair, Ewan McGregor rewatched some of his biggest scenes across his career, and one of them was from Obi-Wan Part 6. He says it was so emotional seeing Hayden reprise the role of Darth Vader that he couldn't help but tear up. It wasn't meant to be such an emotional moment, but it was. And to this day, it's probably one of the best moments of the entire show. Just a fun fact. And so now my dear friends, some major updates for the Acolyte. We've heard about the influence of the Phantom Menace, but now new comments from cast and crew take this a step further. 1999 was a very intense time to be a Star Wars fan. The build up to the Phantom Menace was, like we've never seen before, it was insane. It had been over 15 years since Star Wars fans got a glimpse at George Lucas's beautiful vision in the form of Return of the Jedi, and so fans couldn't wait to see the start of George Lucas's prequel trilogy. Now granted, the Phantom Menace received a lot of fan and media backlash. So many were criticizing Jar Jar Binks, the aesthetic of the movie being so different to the vibe of the original trilogy, so I'm not saying there was no negativity, there certainly was. That being said, if you had asked any fan at the time what was the best part of the film, they would have either said the pod race or Duel of the Fates, the final battle between Jedi and Sith, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. That remains to this day one of the most iconic moments not just in the franchise but also in cinema history. And so you're probably wondering, why am I saying all of this? Meg, what in the quactor has this got to do with the Acolyte? Well, I'll tell you my dear friends. One of the leading cast members on the Disney Plus show Daphne Keane, who's playing the Jedi Padawan Jeki Lon, who is half Theelin, has revealed one of the aims that Leslye Headland had when making this show was to top the Darth Maul fight, to make and choreograph an even more impressive, visually stunning lightsaber fight. The exact quote is this: "That was a very frequent conversation we had. It was very much we want to top the Darth Maul fight, the most iconic fight I think in the Star Wars cinematic universe." While I think Battle of the Heroes fans would disagree with that, but this being said, that is a very, very strong and ambitious aim. Because we haven't seen the actual show, I'm not going to say they can't do it, but I'm a tad skeptical just based on the first trailer and some of the early images. If she said we aim to top the fights in Kenobi or Ahsoka, maybe then I would have been like, yeah, I can definitely see that. But to top the fight from the end of the Phantom Menace, call me someone who is way too attached to the nostalgia of the prequel trilogy, but to this day, 25 years later, that fight stands out as one of the best in all of Star Wars, and I'm not counting the animated stuff. Live action fights are harder to pull off with actual actors, you can't have the same acrobatics as when you're animating. But Star Wars fans in 1999 had never seen anything like this. The fast-paced and meticulously planned and executed choreography, the emotional stakes, the future of Anakin Skywalker was in the balance. Had Qui-Gon lived, many fans including Dave Filoni have said Anakin would have never turned to the dark side. Just everything about it was perfect. The musical score on top of it, the intense, amazing score by John Williams, heightens the entire impact of that scene. And even though up until that moment we got quite a few scenes with Maul, including one of the fights on Tatooine, him removing his hood, igniting his double blades, everyone in the cinema was shaken, gobsmacked, and everyone was telling their friends and their family about that moment. If you go and see episode 1, you're in for one of the best lightsaber duels you'll ever see. Going into the movie theatre 25 years ago, the most recent fight you had on your mind was Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. This, and I know it's subjective, in the minds of millions of fans blew that out of the water. They'd never seen anything like it. And not to mention with the Acolyte it's going to be less cinematic. The format of Disney Plus shows is more limiting, and you can tell just from the bit of footage we've seen. Duel of the Fates had dynamic camera angles, fluid movement, capturing the intensity and energy of all three of the combatants. They all help to enhance and intensify the drama. So is the Acolyte going to top the Darth Maul fight? Honestly guys, I don't know, but I do doubt it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed this show does surprise us though, and defies our current expectations, which from the looks of things, is rather low. But if the Acolytes can pull off spectacular, visually speaking, lightsaber fights, I will be very happy indeed. For most fans, this is the first time they're learning about the High Republic in any form, so it better deliver during a time when the Jedi view their bladesmanship as an art. This means the lightsaber duels could be unparalleled, but let's wait and see. And I know this might be hard to fathom, but Disney and Lucasfilm have been trying to improve their lightsabers and the way they appear in shows, augmenting and working with different technology and companies to improve it. And so while we've seen the use of lightsabers in the first trailer, we've not seen a proper Sith versus Jedi fight. Now staying on the subject of the Acolyte, my dear friends, we also have some more images, and let's go through them. I like some of these frames more than I do others, but I've got to say that it's very early days. All of these are promotional, some of them are taken from the show, some of them are behind the scenes, so we can't get an accurate look at what some of these will look like in the finished product. That being said, I'm just hoping this show does justice to the time period of the High Republic. For those fans who enjoy the books, for those fans who want to get into it, and for those hoping the Acolyte is going to be a good introduction to that era, we all want good Star Wars. I don't know if I'm crazy about the look of these shots, the lighting, the general tone, and that's just me being honest. There is one shot I'm very excited about, and it's this one. May looking on at a trippy kind of Wonka-style island, which looks very fantasy. Leslye Headland said there is Pixar and Disney influence in this, and so you're very much experiencing that in this shot. This, I'm a fan of, and more of Leslye Headland directing. But with that said, my dear friends, let me know your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this update, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.